views versus response body. So this is a bit something that we talked about in our previous presentation. So there are two schemes of returning a response. So the first scheme is the one that we have used so far, meaning we return a logical view name and then view resolver is involved to create a view object and render. That is what we have seen so far. The second scheme is that we can actually use response body and response entity. So we touched upon that thing a bit, right? So in this case, there is what is called the HTTP message converter class involved. Okay. So scheme number one is basically rendering a view by returning a logical view string. Scheme number two, here we are returning response body. We are returning something annotated with response body, or we can actually return response entity object directly. Okay, so which one to use? So far we have used the first scheme. When you need to return a view that generate documents for display in a web browser, such as HTML or PDF and things like that, that's when you can actually return a view, logical view. However, if you want to return just data, okay, this is the case that the client is not a browser, but client is maybe a web services client which just wants to receive the data in the form of XML or JSON, then you could use response body and response entity. Just return the data in the response. So let's take a look at exercise 2. So here we're going to actually see both examples. Again, so far we have seen examples of using view and view resolver, scheme number 1. Okay, so the exercise 2. So in this case, when we run the application, first we are going to use, in this case, is a view, and the second thing is we're going to just return data. Okay, so let's run this guy. So here we are going to see view and response body. So let's stop the current application and let's run as and Java application and the main application. Okay, so it's up and running, so I'm gonna just go at the end here and local 80. Okay, so we have these two URL. So the first one is just displaying the view, hello 1. It will say message 1 is selected. This is my page 1.jsp page. And the second one is using response body. So if I click this guy, it will just return some value. But if you take a look at the source, it is in fact the XML. So I'm basically returning this XML fragment. Okay, so let's see the code. So we have two methods. One is using view resolver by returning a view. So basically we have a method and we are just returning my page, and we just add an ID. So my page 1 maybe is returned as a logical string, and then view resolver is involved to display my page 1.jsp page. In this case, we are using response body annotation, and it just returns string. So in our case, we just created XML fragment like this, and we just return the string. So in this case, it will just return this fragment to the client. Okay, so this is response body. Okay, and obviously if you don't specify this, then it will try to use this guy as a logical view name. So it will try to find this name.jsp page, and obviously it has a special character, so obviously it's not going to find those, and it will result in 404. So try to comment this guy out and see what happens. Okay, and for your own exercise, create another handler. Yeah, so try to comment this guy out and experience what happens, and also create another handler that just create another XML fragment. So I want you to create another method that uses a response body, and you can create the XML fragment or JSON fragment or just a string, whatever. Okay. So when you do use response body, whatever you happen to have in the string will be directly sent back to the client. Okay, so in fact, if you go to, you can certainly actually take a look at the URL. So let me just use this guy. Okay, so let's actually open the developer tool here. Okay, so when I click this guy, hello one, this is using logical view name. So here, basically, this is what I can take a look at the contents, and basically it's just returning the response is going to be just the HTML page like this, right? Okay. However, if I click the second link, okay, if I click the second link, this is the case that we are receiving the data. So let me just click this guy, and if you see the response, this is the XML fragment that is directly returned from your handler. Okay. All right, so that is an exercise. I'll give you guys about the 5 minutes to do exercise 2. Question: what version of STS you're using? Mine seems to different options when you use the Spring Starter project. Mine is actually relatively up to date. So let's see what version I'm using. Help about Spring Tool Suite. And I believe I got this one downloaded and installed. Yeah, I'm using 3.7.1 release, which is released 2015 October. So it's not the most up to date, but recent enough. Okay, let's start.